All right, so I'd like to welcome each and every one of you. My name is Tim St. Dennis. I am a board member at CSL White Rock. We are an inclusive learning center for practical spirituality. This is a place for your whole self. You may find refuge here, and you may receive spiritual nourishment that uplifts and inspires you. And you may join in co-creating a loving, vibrant world that works for all. As we begin our gathering today, I wish to welcome you in my native Métis language called Michif. Tanshi, Tanshi Kaya, Deshinkashan Tim. Hello, hello and welcome. My name is Tim. I respectfully acknowledge that I live and work on the traditional unceded territory of the Coast Salish First Nations, including Kwantlen, Semiahmoo, and Katsi nations. I wish to acknowledge that tomorrow is Indigenous Peoples Day for our friends in the United States. And tomorrow is also our Canadian Thanksgiving. And I wish to take the time to wish each and every one of you a happy Thanksgiving and hope that as you meet with your loved ones near and far, that love and joy fills your hearts. To quote Reverend Jane Beach, appreciation attracts more to appreciate. I'd like to introduce our guest minister today. They're not really a guest minister, but we are blessed to have our very own Minister of Organizational Development, Rev Champion Fleming, presenting their talk calling Share the Dream. Rev Champion Fleming is a minister, an organizational development consultant, and a leadership coach. And they work with the national nonprofits and labor unions committed to anti-racist strategies that lead to cultural and political change. Champion has worked for decades with the LGBTQIA issues, AIDS awareness, poverty, and racism. I'd like to call upon Reverend Champion to lead us in this morning's invocation.
Thank you, Tim. And I want to acknowledge as I begin that I am on the unceded ancestral territory of the Narragansett in Providence, Rhode Island, and that the Narragansett have stewarded this land for over 30,000 years and continue to live and work and be in this community. And just acknowledging them, as we know, that in this philosophy, we refer to it as, sometimes we call it new thought and ancient wisdom. And it's always important for me to acknowledge the ancient wisdom aspect, knowing that I draw from the ancient wisdom of the first people who were on this land. And so as we come together today, we begin with Thanksgiving. I give thanks for everybody who has the time and the opportunity to be with us in this Zoom call today. Thankful for everything that went before this moment to bring together this perfect constellation of beings. I give thanks for all that this community is, all that it has been in the past, and all that it will be into the future. Knowing that the love that is present in and amongst us ripples out as we move into this meeting today, this gathering of like minds, this gathering of our oneness and our expression of the divine. I give thanks for all that life is. And I release my word. I let go, I let God, I let it be, and so it is. Share the dream. That's the talk title for today. Share the dream. When we share the dream, we're creating a collective vision, a collective agreement for how we'll be in the world with each other. And we're living at a time where we have a mandate to live in our oneness, to live in our spiritual magnificence, in multiracial, multi-ethnic, multi-denominational, multi-gendered, multi-everything communities where we live in a new way with shared way of being together that's equitable and inclusive and allows for everybody to thrive. And what's beautiful is that this community that we're in right here, the CSL White Rock, is a beloved community that's continually creating beloved community, continually living into the shared agreement, the shared vision of how we'll be together. So I first came to CSL White Rock almost 9 months ago, something like that. And we spent time, intentional time together with the leadership team to create our vision, to be a loving, vibrant world that works for all. And our mission, we create sacred opportunities for personal empowerment and collective transformation through wholehearted experiences of truth and spirit. And at that time, when I first came into the community, I was all nervous and excited, and Reverend Cassandra was a relatively newish minister with you all. And we talked about how when we create this vision and when we create this mission, it doesn't matter who the people are. It's that the mission and the vision live in the heart of the community, and that the community takes it up and lives it. And so if the board chair comes and goes, or the musicians come and go, it's still the same thing. And at the time we were doing it, we didn't know, we didn't know that Cassandra was coming and going. We didn't know that Reverend Cassandra, like our intentionality about creating something that would live and thrive and be the fabric of the community, we didn't know that what we were creating would, in fact, she would be leaving it, right? It wasn't part of the experience, but it is part now of the truth. And it's kind of like that in this philosophy. We have practices, we have tools, we meditate, we pray, we're in sacred service. And these are the things that we do to express the divine through us and to build a beloved community that's rich and vibrant and loving and a safe harbor for people. We can't keep life from happening. Life happens, right? Sometimes you get a diagnosis you didn't expect. You get removed from a job that you really wanted to stay at. Or sometimes your minister decides that they need to leave and go back to the US. You can't stop these things from happening, but what you can do is be together in the dream with the tools that sustain and support change. So Howard Zinn said, the future is an infinite succession of presents. And to live now as we think human beings should live, in defiance of all that is going on around us, is itself a marvelous victory. And so this community is in an evolution and is in an infinite succession of presence. How will we be together in the moment of this change? How will we live the truth of our divinity in connection with each other in a way that creates the future that we want to see? And in this community, I have seen radical love, compassion, and courage all weave together in support and connection. I've seen it demonstrated with me and toward me. And I've seen this love, compassion, and courage demonstrated in people's individual lives and in the life of this entire community. And so I know that everything that this community needs already exists. It's already here. And it's in this coming together where we decide to continue to share the dream that's been created, to share the vision and mission of the community, to continue to share it. We come together now with intention, with a sense of connection and possibility, with a shared vision for the evolution of who this community will be. And so what will be the currency? What will be the currency of the evolution of this community? And by currency, I mean all the meanings of currency: the exchange, the transaction, and also the quality of being. What will the quality of our being together in the face of this change be? I think I already know the answer to that question. Ernest Holmes said, "Life will be what you are to it." Life will be what you are to it. He said, you can link your will, your thought, your imagination together. We can link our prayer, our meditation, we can link our affirmation, we can link our sacred service so that we can all evolve in the next incarnation of this community. I know Reverend Cassandra has been an amazing leader to all of you. And do you remember your first reaction when you heard that she was going to leave? What was the real feeling behind hearing that she was going to leave? This feeling that we get when we're in the midst of change, that first feeling, is to be honored. You know, a few years ago, Michelle Obama was out doing stumping for Joe Biden. Sorry, you Canadians, I know you have to know so much about us Americans. But she was out on the campaign trail and she said, "When they go low, we go high." And I thought, well, that's really nice, because this question I'm asking, like, what was the real feeling when you heard that Reverend Cassandra was leaving? Like, for me, I want to go high, but usually I'm climbing it like a ladder. Like, the first feeling for me is fear. And I've been, many of you know, I've been on a drive. I'm traveling, and I travel from Oakland to Toronto, Ontario, and beyond, all over Canada, Quebec, Ontario, all over. And every time I leave a town and move to a new town, what I'm noticing is that change, that moment of transition, I get really afraid. I have a high level anxiety when there's change. Very high level. And it's like, it's not about going from Sydenham, Ontario to Watertown, New York. It's something from my past that's informing the way that whatever was going on in my family of origin, or maybe even before that with my ancestors. Like, why do I respond to change with a feeling of, am I all right and will I survive this? It's almost okay that I don't know why I respond that way, but I want to make sure that I honor my feeling. And one of the things that Reverend Cassandra has brought to this community is that we honor our feeling. That if we just tamp it down and try to avoid it and don't deal with it, it'll pop out somewhere else later. So what was that original thing that came up? Maybe it was fear. And that's okay. How do I honor that, be with that, acknowledge it, go into it so that I can go through it? And then if we go into it, we can actually move into something else. We can move collectively into what's on the other side of that. Fear really thrives in alone time. When we're solo and alone, fear comes up, we can kind of get stuck in that fear. So one of the ways that this community can share in and what the currency can be is to share the truth of what's coming up, what the feelings are, so that when we're in a collective of it, the fear can dissipate. And at the core of this community is a wisdom and a love. And when we can be together in that, we can move out of the harder feelings, through the harder feelings, into what can be next. What will be the beautiful next of this community? We know with a hopeful expectation that there is a beautiful next. That we can invite others along on this journey in a way that expresses the radical love and compassion of this community. When I've been traveling, I've been having incredible access to nature. It's been just so amazing to be as said to a friend of mine, the wildlife is abundant and the internet has been weak. I've been really out of touch with people. I've seen amazing, amazing things. And to be in nature is to be reminded of resiliency and perseverance, and how the birds and the animals and where do the fish go when the river freezes? Like, I just think there's so much that we can learn from nature. And one of the great metaphors, I think, right now for this community would be a flock of starlings. Starlings have been scientifically studied now. If there's a start, if there's a truck or a wolf, the starlings, somebody gets the message and they all move in formation. And have you seen this flight? It's so beautiful, and it can be 100 birds or thousands of birds, and they've recorded up to 1 million birds in one starling flock. It's been sort of hard to know how they could stay connected and move out of harm's way. And what it actually is an invisible electromagnetic connection. They call it, in science, it is the equation of critical transitions. And each one of the starlings is in sync and paying attention to and tracking only the 7 closest birds. They don't have to track the whole thousands of birds in the flock. They connect only to their 7 closest neighbors. And they stay in sync in a clear, consistent communication. This is a collective leadership, and they're exhibiting a trust within themselves and for each other. the summer when my nephew he was promoted from elementary school to middle school. I went to junior high school. I don't know about you, but he was promoted to what they called middle school. He was really had a lot of anxiety about the transition, moving from one school to the other and what he would encounter when he got there. And he became obsessed with this website that was an alphabetical list of phobias. And I would go and see him and he would read the phobias aloud to me. He would say, anthrophobia, fear of flowers; bibliophobia, a fear of books; chromophobia, a fear of colors; dendrophobia, a fear of trees; glossophobia, a fear of public speaking. And there was something about it that helped him move into his fear and see that other people were afraid and just sort of go through this list. It helped him settle in his body. And it was sort of not exactly the fear that he was experiencing, but he was allowing himself to feel it. He was allowing himself to go into the fear and feel it. And there was a way he was connecting with me. He was not just sitting in his fear alone, but he was letting me know through this sort of indirect and roundabout way that he was afraid. And we connected to each other in the fear. And what would happen is we would absolutely laugh. We would just belly laugh about, I mean, I'm sorry if there's anybody who has these phobias, but to just go through a list of all the things you can possibly be afraid of sort of took the power out of all the things. And it, I think, allowed him to be present and show up and do very well in school. And now he's studying electrical engineering. So I want to just have you reflect for a minute on what it is that you want to honor as you move into this transition together. What is it that you want to honor in yourself that may come from your past? It may come from your ancestors. It may be located in the present. But what is the thing that you want to honor as you move together into this transition? And through honoring that, it will allow you to share the dream and set the vision and intention for the community you want to be creating together. What are the ways that you want to be together now, knowing that these ways that you interact with each other now are a succession of present moments that are going to create the future of the community. And in this expression can be imagination and vision. I know you're having visioning sessions coming up. Imagination and vision, and as Nathan was singing earlier, that when we want to go fast, we go alone, and when we want to go far, we go together. And I want to honor the richness of love and courage and commitment that exists within this community, and honor all that you have been to each other and all that you will continue to be to each other. And I want to take a little moment here and have us close with a little practice. And so if you're willing, put your hand, if you just ground your feet on the floor or Be steady in the seat. If your feet are up in the seat with you, just make sure you're totally grounded in the chair, that you're allowing the chair to support you. And put your, if you're willing, put your hand just below your belly button. And as you breathe, remember the dignity of your length. And feel the energy at your feet. And breathe up through your center, all the way up through the top of your head, reaching into the infinite. And then I want you to breathe wide, breathing out your sides, expanding your Zoom box and connecting to each other. Our width, when we breathe wide, this width is our connection to each other. Not everyone's on camera, but remember the folks in this community who you care about. Know that this care is extended back to you. That care that you send out is coming back to you. We widen into each other, expressing our connection and our oneness. Knowing that we are a loving and vibrant community, actively engaging to create a world that works for all. Namaste. So let's return to that place within us where we recognize the power and presence of spirit is in us, as us. It's through us and it surrounds us. That in a moment of brilliance, each one in this room was brought into form. That the divine brought us each here for a unique reason. And all that it had to create us was itself. And therefore, by the fact of that, we are all that it is. And we know that it is love and harmony, peace and joy, abundance, divine order, divine givingness, infinite wisdom and intelligence. And we know that it flows to us and through us as individuals and as a community. It flows from the one mind, the one love, the one heart. It flows from a never-ending, everlasting source. It flows like a snow melt down a mountain, a mighty stream. It flows with power and it flows with grace. And it flows through us. And all that we have to do is just be willing to be breathed. Nothing special. Knowing that we all just turn toward the divine. We open to it and allow it to come forth through the activity of our lives. Through each present moment, we come together to share the dream. And we step forward into the next little swath of light, into the next swath of light, knowing that in each successive moment, the light pulls us forward, that there's ease and grace and expansion, that the currency of evolution in this community is love, love and connection. So I give thanks for everyone being together in this moment and knowing this truth, knowing that this truth is carried forward with us as we go into the next part of our day and into our Thanksgiving celebrations, knowing that God is, we are, and all is well. And so please affirm this prayer with me by saying, and so it is.
Yes, and so it is. We create sacred opportunities for personal empowerment and collective transformation through wholehearted experiences, truth, and spirit. If you are inspired by today's music and message, as well as our weekly and monthly programs, we greatly receive any gifts or tithes or any offerings you may have. You can donate to our website at cslwhiterock.com, donate, or mail us a check, or send us an e-transfer. Gifts of all sizes are helpful, and your contributions make all this possible. Thank you so much. So please join me in declaring our prosperity affirmation. Divine love within blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.